These 10 muscle maniacs took bodybuilding way too far. What they did to their bodies will disgust you. Number 10. Mustafa Ismail. As unhealthy as excessive bodybuilding could get, it's even worse when some people choose to focus on a particular muscle while disregarding the rest. These people refer to themselves as specialists, concentrating their workouts on a specific set of muscles to reach a maximum size. Mustafa Ismail from Egypt holds the Guinness World Record for having the world's largest biceps, earning him the nickname Egyptian Popeye. Like other bodybuilders, his physique is big and fit, but his enormous biceps are out of this world. At 31 inches in diameter, his biceps are as big as the waist of an average guy. Proud with his accomplishment, Mustafa denies shooting synthol oil injections and attributes his bulging biceps to a crazy workout regimen and a high daily protein intake. However, many skeptics accuse him of lying, maintaining that such biceps are impossible to achieve naturally. Mustafa also admits that finding clothes is extremely difficult, as almost no ready-made shirts could accommodate his massive arms. Number 9. Greg Valentino. Obsessed bodybuilders often go to extreme lengths just to get bigger. Besides steroids and growth hormones, one of the most popular and dangerous methods muscle men have been using are synthol injections. These are synthetic oils that can be injected directly into a certain muscle to make it swell. This results in a bulging muscle that looks completely unnatural, but does the job nevertheless. Greg Valentino is sometimes referred to as the most hated man in bodybuilding for his huge attention-grabbing arms. He was so obsessed with keeping his arms big, he had synthol administered into them regularly. At one point, he had the largest arms in the world, but those repeated synthol injections were not without harm, and a localized collection of blood from ruptured vessels started accumulating in Valentino's right arm. It then got infected and leaked pus. Instead of seeking proper medical attention, he attempted to drain it out by himself while filming the process. His bicep then exploded, creating an ugly mess of blood and flesh, and he ended up in the hospital. Valentino ended up with a new nickname, the man whose arms exploded. Number 8. Gordon Kimbrough. Anabolic steroids do not only change a person physically, but reports have shown that mood and behavioral changes are also often seen. An example is Gordon Kimbrough from San Francisco, who was known in bodybuilding circles as a chemical machine. According to his relatives, Kimbrough was originally a timid and quiet man who never hurt anybody. This all changed when Kimbrough started taking steroids and growth hormones in order to get bigger muscles more quickly. However, the drugs also had an effect on his personality, making him more aggressive. In 1993, in a fit of rage, he attacked his fiancée, Christy Ramsey, an aerobics instructor who wanted to end their relationship. He tackled her down, wrapped an electrical cord from an iron around her neck, and stabbed her to death with a kitchen knife. The next day, he was found by police at the crime scene, trying to commit suicide by Lysol injection through the neck. Despite his family's tearful pleas, Kimbrough received a maximum sentence for murder. Number 7. Ruben Azrou. We could argue that with the mentality that some bodybuilders have, they aren't supposed to possess such raw physical strength. In 2011, a husband and wife from South California came home from a party only to find a 300-pound muscular man stark naked standing on their lawn. With menacing eyes, the massive man charged at the husband and beat him savagely, breaking his jaw. The frightened wife tried running inside to call the cops, but the man caught her by the head and tossed her around like a rag doll, fracturing her skull. Neighbors then came to the poor couple's aid and chased the naked giant away from the home. They had him cornered in a backyard until the cops came and brought him to custody. He was unfazed by stun guns, and it took 4 officers to subdue and handcuff him. Thankfully, the couple survived, and the rampaging ruffian was identified as Ruben Azrou, a 22-year-old who was under the influence of drugs which included steroids. According to his mother, Azrou suffers from a mental illness which led to the attack. Number 6. Chad Brothers. Here's another story of a man going on a rampage due to the adverse effects of anabolic steroids. It's an unfair stereotype to say that bodybuilding turns you into a raging Hulk, but New Yorker Chad Brothers just proved that the fact has some truth in it. Brothers was a construction worker studying to be an engineer in his spare time. In 2011, he was working out at a Gold's Gym in New York when he accidentally tripped and fell down while on an elliptical machine. Furious and embarrassed, Brothers went on a rampage, smashing and damaging things and toppling down heavy gym equipment. Surveillance cameras caught the whole event, and he goes on to attack and threaten workers and other people at the gym. When the police arrived, he refused to back down, and it took 2 taser shots to bring him down. Within an hour, he was pronounced dead from cardiac arrest. It was later revealed that Brothers had been wired on illicit PCP and steroids, both drugs explaining his explosive temper and crazy behavior. Number 5. Andreas Munzer. Apart from poisoning themselves with drugs, some bodybuilders also harm their bodies by depriving themselves of essential things like fat and water. In order to really make their muscles pop out, they often try to maintain as little body fat and liquid in their system as possible. Without proper supervision and control, this unhealthy habit can have terrible effects. Andreas Munzer was a man who looked like he was pulled straight out of an action cartoon show. The Austrian legend was renowned for his chiseled body, which was the result of an incredibly low body fat percentage. In 1996, in Munich, Munzer went to the hospital suffering from severe stomach pain. Doctors found that he was bleeding internally and his liver and kidneys were failing. 2 days later, the 32-year-old bodybuilder was pronounced dead. An autopsy revealed that Munzer not only had a startlingly dangerous low body fat percentage, but his liver was filled with tumors, his testicles had shrunken, and his failing heart was twice the size of a normal man's. Munzer had brought doom to himself through years of supplement abuse, unhealthy diet, and overtaxed body workout. Number 4. Bertil Fox. The effects of drugs on one's behavior and personality can remain unnoticed for years before the person suddenly snaps, making them much more terrifying. Take Bertil Fox, a St. Kitts-born British muscle pro who originally took up bodybuilding as a teenager upon his cousin's encouragement. At the age of 18, he won Junior Mr. Britain. In a career spanning over 2 decades, Fox would go on to win numerous major bodybuilding events, including the professional NABBA Mr. Universe twice in a row, and finished 5th in a Mr. Olympia. The media dubbed him Brutal Bertil, although everyone knew him as the genial sort. In 1995, after years of competing, Fox returned to his native St. Kitts to settle down and open a gym there. Then, one day, he shot his beauty queen fiancée and her mother. He claimed that it was an accident, but the court was convinced otherwise. He was originally sentenced to death, but the sentence was reduced to life imprisonment following an appeal. Number 3. Sally McNeil. Steroid abuse is often linked to roid rage, a term used to describe the extreme mood swings and outbursts of anger seen in bodybuilders who use the substance. While this type of insanity is normally seen in men, female bodybuilders are not entirely exempted, as all that unnatural testosterone can seriously wreak havoc on their judgments. An example is Sally McNeil, a former U.S. Marine sergeant who, after leaving the service, took up serious bodybuilding alongside her husband, Ray. Thanks to constant steroid abuse, she developed an uncontrollable temper, which she unleashed to everyone around her. Insanely jealous, the muscle woman once savagely beat a woman who she claimed Ray was having an affair with. She also damaged her husband's car by dropping a 70-pound weight on it. After a long and volatile relationship, Sally decided to put things to an end. On Valentine's Day 1995, she pulled a shotgun out on Ray and unloaded it twice on him, killing him instantly. She now serves time in jail and maintains that the murder was done in self-defense, claiming that it was her husband who was struggling with roid rage instead of her. Number 2. Anthony D'Arezzo. The worst thing about bodybuilding is that it really isn't healthy, and for this reason, many refuse to consider it a sport. Having big, bulky muscles sure looks great on the outside, plus you get to lift stuff easily, but it takes more than that to be considered fit and healthy. Take Anthony D'Arezzo, a man who was unfortunate enough to be diagnosed with a congenital heart disease. After years of competition during his younger days, he decided on a comeback at the age of 44. Despite his heart condition, he went on lifting iron bars and taking anabolic steroids steroids against his doctor's warnings. He even went as far as to shoot growth hormones, as he didn't want to fall behind his competitors. In 2006, he suffered a heart attack and died in his hotel room in Pittsburgh the night before a competition. An autopsy revealed that his heart was about 3 times the size of a normal person, with half the efficiency. He reportedly said, "I would rather die on a bodybuilding stage than rot away in a hospital bed in old age." Unfortunately, he never even made it to the stage. Number 1. Gary Hyming. Like many performing arts, competitive bodybuilding requires people to train for extremely long periods just to have a short moment to show what they're made of during competitions. And to prepare for that short moment in the spotlight, bodybuilders sometimes push themselves beyond what their bodies could take. Australian muscle man Gary Hyming showed the world how extremely dangerous bodybuilding could be. The man was a well-known bodybuilder who had been competing in events for years. In 2009, while flexing his shiny muscles in the Masters division at the IFBB event in Victoria, Australia, Hyming suddenly collapsed on stage. His limp body was carried away by first responders, and he was pronounced dead from a heart attack at the hospital. Amazingly enough, the competition went on. There's an old saying that goes, "Find what you love and then let it kill you," and that is exactly what Gary Hyming did. The burns mutilated her body terribly, causing the lower half of her face to melt into her chest. She was unable to close her eyes and mouth, and her right arm was glued to her side, rendering it almost useless. Her disfigurements were so extensive that local doctors were unable to do anything to fix her.